Welcome to episode 106 of the Sussex by the Sea podcast. I'm your host Chris Saverick, and on the SBTS we try to get a flavour of our local football here in East Sussex, but in particular the club I follow for my sins, Hastings United. On episode 106 we're joined by James Hopkins and Georgina Townsend to talk women's football and the upsurge in interest and the numbers of girls looking to put on that sacred claret and blue shirt. James also gives us the ins and outs of the new club initiative Hastings Means Business. Then we go to one from the archives of an interview, well, I couldn't play previously, from councillor Andy Batsford. It was recorded in November last year. I'm playing it only now for context. Thankfully, things are so much different now, as I will be interviewing Andy for episode 107. Then we go over to the SBTS Fan Roundtable. The SBTS boys are joined by regulars now, Terry from Margate and Gabs from Enfield. Enjoy, grassroots football fans. And now over to my interview with James Hopkins and Georgina Townsend. Well, it gives me great pleasure to have the wonderful James Hopkins on for the third time on this very podcast. The man of 8,000 hats. I don't know if you ever remember that interview, James.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
How many hats are you wearing today?
Today, I'm just wearing this one today, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very important. We're talking women's football, but we're also talking about Hastings Means Business, a great initiative by the club that hopefully is going to reach out to the wider community, the business community and the community in general, to spread the lovely word of Hastings and also to bring some coinage into our lovely club. James, where do you want to start? Would you want to start with Hastings Means Business?
Yeah, if we start with Hastings Means Business, it's an initiative that I've done at other football clubs previously. It's quite a simple concept. We get businesses that are really interested in football and also that want to support Hastings United. We have a quarterly business lunch at the football club, of which we've had 2, and they've been really well supported. And it attracts people that want to support the club in their own way and want to find out more about what we do and who we are. And it's really a captive audience for us to showcase everything that's brilliant about Hastings United, really.
Yeah, and you had the new management team on for the last one, didn't you? How did that go down?
Brilliant. Paul Barnes did a superb presentation, ins and outs of what they do as a management duo and also how it relates to business, which is really good, because if we can get that little link for business people to then have it as a little educational slot for them, how football management in the modern day relates to business and running a business, they're really interested in that, and that went down really well.
Yeah, so you're talking about you took this role on for the Hastings Means Business, and I think that's through Ben White, a part of the new ownership. Have you got any words on the new ownership? Anything you want to kind of tell us Hastings fans about them? Because we know them from playing for Hastings, but don't know the ins and outs of that relationship.
Yeah, so basically, Aspire Sports Limited, which is a company that's been set up, obviously, by Ben, his dad's Mark Gall, who is he's our under 13s girls manager, but also a director at the Hastings Sofa Company. And we also have Metin Drabovic, who is a businessman who's got a few restaurants in the southeast of England. And previously, they've all been in the inception of the academy. They were all involved intrinsically in that right at the beginning. Any more detail on that, you probably have to interview Ben, because he knows all the ins and outs. But I know them all personally. They're all great individuals. They love football, and they definitely love Hastings United Football Club, and they want to see success on and off the pitch. And they really, really advocate our academy. because that is our future.
It definitely is. It definitely is. I know, because obviously there's the different training now. Side training in London half the week and in Hastings half the week. Is that something that is going to be still ongoing? Is that still the plan this season?
Yeah, I mean, speaking to Paul, that is the plan this season.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got to look at everyone's situation, players' situations, where they live, where they've got to travel. So it is probably the way of modern football. You've got other clubs, obviously, that are in our vicinity that are have a larger budget than us, that are paying players on a full-time basis. Obviously, that costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
Now, in order to get the best out of your players and the best out of your team, we've got to try and get into training to a high level as easy as possible. And I think that the way that they're doing it at the moment is probably the best way for us in order to be competitive with a lot of London teams, so.
Well, we certainly started competitively. It's been a decent start. Myself, just getting to know this new team completely. Obviously, literally everyone from last season has gone. So it's, for an old codger like me, who's a bit old school, it's a bit of a difficult to deal with, but I'm dealing with it. I'm taking my tablets. No.
One thing I do need to mention that I really want to try and get as many people I can to is the 1st of December Hastings Means Business Christmas lunch. So what we're trying to do is we want to more or less 12 till 5 event. We're going to have Mickey the Turker Taylor, who will be giving us a talk regarding his book, Roller Coasters of Non-League Football, which will be really interesting. Mickey's a really interesting guy. Used to be a manager at St Leonard's Stamco up the road. So a lot of people know him. And we will also have, again, Paul Barnes giving us an update on what's happening at that period. So that gives us a couple of months of games. Paul will be updating us. It's a 2-course lunch, which is done by our in-house caterers, John Emson Catering, which is obviously brilliant. As you probably, hopefully, you've experienced, the food has gone up a level.
I nicked some from Johnny Wills. Yes, it was a lot better. Yes, a lot better.
Yeah. No, that's good.
I'm more liquid lunch myself, but yeah, that's just something I've got to deal with.
It's just trying to get an offer in. We are looking at improving that as well, to be honest with you, with potentially more outlets around the ground.
Yeah.
Loved, just going a little bit off tangent. I loved going to Dulwich and learning a lot from what they've got up there with the outlets around. That was really buzzing. So that's cool. But again, Hastings Means Business lunch on the 1st of December. There is, we can get people booked in. We can get up to about 100 in there. It'd be great to get that sort of number, and then let everyone know how we're getting on with the football club, really.
Well, I know from my chatting on the Facebook and things like that, the various ways that us Hastings fans communicate, there's lots of people with ideas, that it would be really good if we can get a few fans down there because and to interact with business, because ideas that remain on Facebook are no good. You need to get out there, get talking with people, and get.
Well, also we want ideas. The new ownership want people's ideas. They want to know what works for you, because at the end of the day, you're the fan. So that's another reason Hastings Means Business exists, is so that we can get expertise from people that run big businesses to then help the football club. Because if you're a closed book and you're a closed shop, you're never going to develop at all. And you have to just try new ideas. As you know, with regards to the fixture posters recently, that was a previous concept that was obviously looked after by the supporters club, as you mentioned before. We just need to get them out there, because if your logo, if your identity and your fixtures are about the town every month, when we go to visit these people to give them these posters, we can have a chat about Hastings United, and potentially that's another source of sponsorship just by interacting with the local business community. And that's, for me as a commercial person, that's really why I wanted to do it, so that we can interact, face to face with people instead of just using social media all the time.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Face to face, far better. Talking of face to face, hello, Georgia.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm okay. Just to introduce Georgia Townsend, who's the under-9s girls
under
coach.
9 girls manager.
And plays for Eastbourne United, which I don't know how we feel about that. Let's say, not really. How long have you been in the role? And tell us about it, please.
So I've been the coach for the under-9s since April last year. So this is the first team that I've had to myself, which has been really good. I got the team due to the success of the Euros last year. So I was just helping out with the under 10s, but then it became massive girls football. We went from having 8 girls to about 30 girls attending training, it was amazing to see how many girls want to come and play football.
Okay, and so I expect from obviously the World Cup, you're going to need some help, aren't you?
Yes. So last night at training, we did an open training session. So anybody could come and join in. And we had about 50 girls aged 5 to 11 up at horn time. So it was great to see this many girls. And all of the girls, especially the younger ones, said that they've been watching the World Cup. And that's why they want to come and play. So that was really nice to see.
Oh, excellent. Oh, that's really good. In terms of the journey, I know obviously it's Jake does the pre-academy. So he's working with 3 to 6 year olds. That sort of 6 to 9 year olds, who works with them there? So
we've just got a new coach come in called Amy. She's really keen to get started and she's just done her level 1 coaching. So she's taking all of the girls that are not quite old enough to enter into the leagues that we've got. So the youngest competitive age group is the under 9s, which I take. So then Amy's got all of the girls younger than that. So she had a group of 10 last night at training of really little girls wanting to try football out.
It's amazing. Obviously, with the women's setup was 2019, wasn't it? Around then, it's amazing how much it's grown. Considering we're not awash with money, a few things being televised, the enthusiasm for women's football, which is so good to see.
Definitely, even at Hastings. So I've been with Hastings just over a year now, and even since I've been, it's grown massively with the girls' academy. So I think when I first started, there was just under 10s, under 11s, under 12s. And now we have under 9s, we have 2 under 11 teams, we have under 12s, under 13s, under 15s, and then hopefully we'll really expand that to have an under 18s one day for Hastings.
And just for any girls that are interested to listen to this, it's at Horntine, yeah? The train's always at Horntine, or is it at different places?
Training will be at different venues, so we use a range of them, but it will always be publicised on social media if we do have any changes. But if anybody does want to get involved, then they can contact myself or James, and we can direct them to the correct age group for them to come and try training out.
Okay. All right, lovely. So in terms of the contacts, I also could direct them to the Hastings women's Twitter. George, I want to talk about the women's side. Obviously, you play for Eastbourne. What's your thoughts on how the current women's team is shaping up for Hastings?
For Hastings, I think that they've managed the change well. So obviously from a lot of players moving elsewhere, I think the new management team and Tom's come in and he's really brought the team together to shape that up. And we're looking forward to playing Hastings again this season as Eastbourne United.
Yeah, that should be a bit feisty. Yeah. I mean, what's it? Because obviously I'm biased. Obviously, playing on the pilot field is far different than playing in Eastbourne, in my opinion. It's far better experience, the pilot field, the green carpet that it is. I mean, in terms of atmosphere, we do get a fair attendance at our women's games. I mean, is it like that at Eastbourne?
We do get quite a few supporters. It's more family and then people that obviously enjoy watching football, so they watch the men's at Eastbourne, they come and watch the women's. But I think at Hastings, where they have the girls' academy, that kind of brings people through the gates. Obviously, Eastbourne doesn't have a girls' section, but Hastings definitely has the advantage there to create like a family-friendly environment for girls to come in. So the girls get the opportunity to be mascots with the women. They get hosted in the boardroom, so they get snacks at half time. They're ball girls, so it's a really positive experience for them to go out, and then that brings their families in to get more supporters for the women's team.
It's good the club's making the effort and that is bearing fruit, so that's all good to hear. James, let's talk about let's talk about Billy Wood. Let's talk about his what he brought to the women's team. He put a lot of time and energy into that, and was successful has since moved on to Haywards Heath. Do you want to give a few thoughts on Billy first, and then we'll talk about the new setup?
Yeah, I mean, basically, you can't forget about the contribution that Billy made to the women's section. He, shone a massive light on the women's team, and over the last 2 seasons, they've been really competitive with a lot of players coming in. And yeah, I mean, the way that Billy markets things and the way that he developed it into a situation where the girls can now come and be mascots and ball girls is brilliant. And you can't forget that, and to mention that as is a really, really positive thing. I wish him all the best at Haywards Heath. He steps a few levels up, which is going to be a challenge, or it'd be a challenge for anyone, be a challenge for me. And we wish him all the best on that. Really,
the current setup.
The current setup is we've got Tom Young, who obviously was just before we had the change. Billy, he was assisting Billy as the first team coach, assistant manager. He's now come in after we've had an interview process. We had 3 or 4 applicants, and Tom shone through with his experience. Previously been at Lewis, he has just qualified as a UEFA B licensed coach. And the way that he manages the team and his attributes with regards to welcoming young players into the squad is exactly the model that Hastings United want to develop now. Tiana Tapp, who was in our academy, previously playing in the only girl in a boys team, and now she was Hastings United Academy, brief spell at Who, come back, she's straight into the first team, 16-year-old striker. We have 5 players that are in our under-16s that will definitely be looking at taking that step. Probably halfway through this season, I imagine, when they turn 16. They're wanting to finish off their season with the under-16s. We have so many younger players around Hastings that's the avenue that Tom wants to go down. Obviously, we want to be competitive. Obviously, we want to win the league. We want to progress up the levels, but we need to try and do it in a more sustainable and local fashion. That's what we need to do, just to manage it. And really, we want to give people opportunity, and you can't give people opportunity if players are coming down from Dartford and London at this level of women's football, in my opinion. So,
no, it sounds very good for the future. People with Hastings links, probably bring in more of a crowd as well. Just if it's for Hastings Eastbourne, I know that that's going to be a tasty one. That one.
It was brilliant the other day when we had the World Cup final on. Obviously, unfortunately, the result, but we had the World Cup final on. The Pilot Bar was absolutely chocker, full of families, children watching the game. We had the food bar open. A lot of them spilled over and stayed to watch the women's game straight after. What we're now going to try and do under the new ownership is we want to try and have fixtures and training with the girls' academy on just before the women's game starts to warm up. Yeah. And then that will then draw in and showcase to the academy the development that is the opportunity that is there for them. And like Georgia alluded to, they can be ball girls, they can be mascots, they can come in at half time. There's a lot of people, I've shared recently on Twitter, we've got some academy girls that have had photographs and getting autographs of the first team players. They absolutely love it, and they idolise the first team because that's where they see themselves going. And I don't know what Georgia probably feel the same. 10 years ago, that didn't look possible for a young girl, but now it does. That's the difference. I've got 3 daughters, so I want to give them as much opportunity as possible.
I'd say I know I might be being a bit of an old codger here, but like 30 years ago, my ex-wife used to play for QPR, and what the level was like then in terms of facilities, how it was literally they had to make it up themselves. It was they were lucky to get goal nets. You know what I mean? It was ridiculously underfunded and unloved. It was only the love of those girls that wanted to play that kept it going. So how, particularly over the last 10 years, it's progressed is amazing.
Well, I mean, Georgia, you'd probably be able to jump in on this, and your experience is going to be more than mine about what facilities you had when you were younger playing football.
Yeah, so obviously it always seems like the boys got given the better facilities, especially down at grassroots level. But the clubs that I've played for, I've been lucky enough that they have had facilities to use. But I suppose now it's really getting better, but there's still the issue with facilities in Hastings, especially over the winter months. So girls were without football. Well, not just the girls, all of the children in Hastings were without football when pitches were flooded. So I think there needs to be more research and more routes to be looked into to make sure that these children can play football over the winter months.
Yeah, it's an important point you make there over the fact that all children were denied basically playing space for anything, really. I mean, it's something that I hope the new ownership are going to have a dialogue with the council. I've heard lots of talk from the council about maybe possible 3G pitches being sourced, but I mean that costs money, and I know talk is cheap, so I don't know where to go with that.
I mean,
go on, James.
I think dialogue with the council has already started at the end of the day, because we have a lot of councillors that support our football club, and we appreciate all their opinions. I think what we want now is everyone just to support each other and get this problem solved. Politics aside, they need places to play. So we're all coming up with different solutions and ideas, and it's now just about trying to work out what's best for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's the way I see it. At the end of the day, I'm a problem-solving sort of person, and it's just solve it the easiest way for everybody, really. But yeah, the dialogue has started, and it is positive. So
good. How's Eastbourne getting on, by the way?
We have only had one league game so far. Last weekend against Montpellier, we won 3-2.
Oh, there we go. And you set up the winner?
No, not the winner.
Oh, okay.
I did set up one though.
Oh, that's it. That's all I need to hear. Okay, well, listen, James, Georgia, thank you very much for coming on. Doing great work, and it's so good to see that the more people involved with Hastings, it's just great, and the growth of the club over the particularly last 5-6 years, it warms my heart. So take care, and I'll see you both at the game.
Yeah,
perfect. Thank you.
over to the one from the archives, my interview with councillor Andy Batsford, recorded after the tumultuous Fan Forum in November. I'm just so glad things have moved on and moved forward and look so much more rosy now. But let's take you back to those, for me, dark times. I've got the lovely Andy Batsford here. Andy Batsford's portfolio is sport and leisure.
Sport, leisure and health, yeah.
Thank you. Sport, leisure and health. We're here to talk about the pilot field, Tyne Kiln, Horntine, lots of things. First of all, hello, Andy.
Hiya, how you doing? All right, Chris?
No, not bad at all, sir. First of all, the Tyne Kiln. Is it happening? Is it available? Or is it off the cards?
As far as I'm concerned, the Tolkien site is off the cards for development. As I said at the meeting about 2 Thursdays ago, every political party in Hastings stood on a manifesto of not developing green spaces and playing fields. So I think, realistically, I think we've all got to stick to those decisions being made. It's not taken in isolation, but we do think that there are other places in the town that could really be used for the club to look at, to develop, and to move forward as a sustainable club. That's the most important thing for me. Is it sustainable in the long term? Yeah. So just for people that would ask about the Tyne Kiln, I mean, in terms of financially, it's not sustainable, or is there, because of it being a green space, would it be difficult anyway to get there's things built on that? There's two. I think there's two things there. There's the business model, and then there's the sort of environmental issues as well. So you've got the business model. So just a little quick timeline really on it, that the whole original plan to build on the Tolkien site was this, that the club would borrow a sizable amount of money, millions of pounds, and then it would build the stadium and the facilities at Tolkien first. And then it would come down to, once that was built and the club moved over, then they would build the houses, 86 houses on the pilot field site, and the profits from the sale of those houses would then pay back the loan the club took out to build the facilities at Tolkien. It became very clear very quickly that there wasn't enough money from the sale of the houses to pay for the whole development at Tolkien. Before COVID, that was around about £2 million worth of deficit. And the club, when I asked the club directors, they said that they had people that would invest in the facilities, which is fair enough to say that. But clearly the council officers who were dealing with the directors and asking for the business plan needed to see something a bit more concrete than my mates will lend me the money. They needed to know where that money was going to come from, how they were going to pay back the repayments and that sort of thing, because obviously the club needs to be sustainable. Post-COVID and post the explosion in the cost of steel and all that sort of stuff, that £2 million deficit, I'm going to guess, is around about £3 to £4 million now. So we've got this situation where we've got a club that is quite rightly pushing for better facilities, but I cannot see a clear and honest business plan about how those facilities are going to be built and how they're going to be sustained in the future. Because, I did ask the directors, is the club going to borrow £2 million, £3 million? The response was, no, the club is not going to borrow that money. So I said, so are the directors going to be borrowing that money? I didn't get a straight answer. Somebody is going to have to borrow a serious amount of money, because the selling of the houses on the pilot field will not pay for the facilities. So that's the number one biggest problem with this project at the moment, the big black hole of £2 to £3 million worth of money. The second part is that the people that live around the pilot fields are not very keen on 86 new houses being built on that site. They've got massive issues around the flooding, about the infrastructure around there, the impact on cars and travelling around there, but mainly around the fact that they're already being flooded out of their houses with raw sewage because the system around there just can't cope already. Plus you've got Tolkien site, which is well used by clubs already. I mean, most of us with our kids and everything have played our summer training sessions up on the Tolkien site. Dog walkers love working up there. It's a free and open space to lots of people that live up in Hollington, which is one of my most deprived areas in the town. Even if the club, and in their latest plans, very kindly showed a dog walking route round the outside of the infrastructure for Tolkien, that is not having a big open space like it is at the moment. That is just sort of almost playing, giving a little bit to somebody just to say that you can walk your dog still. So, there's problems on both sides, ecologically and, if you like, local people being against those developments happening. But the biggest one for me, and as a local councillor and somebody who's in charge in some directly with the council finances and is that business plan just does not stack up, and there has never been a business plan signed off by the council, and that's why the heads of terms have never been signed off by the council or the club, and that's where the Tolkien site development sort of stands and falls, really, in my view.
So just so for fans that are listening, like when you say terms of service and things like that, so it's that they haven't signed off to guarantee that this money is coming from somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. So the heads of terms can be lots of things. I mean, when you buy a bit of land or you look to develop something, you always have a heads of terms between the two parties.
Oh, right,
yeah. So the heads of terms will have various bits and pieces in the agreement: a business plan, a community strategy, and so use of the land, open spaces, all those sort of things that are in the heads of terms. And if one of the parties aren't happy with any of those bits and pieces, they just will not sign the heads of terms. So you can't move forward. When the directors came forward and said, we're going to put a planning application in, that's when the officers and the political part of the council said, don't put a planning application in. We haven't got heads of terms signed off. You could, it'd be totally at your own risk. And they're the conversations that will come out, in the report. Basically, the report will show that at no point was there any encouragement to put a planning application in to the club from the council.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so we're looking at other options. Obviously, the area itself is screaming out for facilities, and that's obviously the biggest point. We've got tons of obviously young people playing football, loads of teams, but also obviously our own first team. We can't play on that pitch. So, in terms of the future, what can the council? I know maybe not put it in black and white, but what can they be doing? What can they be providing?
No, there is a massive need for sporting facilities in the town, full stop. I mean, I'm just working on at the moment on the levelling up bid that the government have given us some money for, bringing forward a plan for a new leisure centre in the town. So we've got a new leisure centre being put forward because we're in desperate need of facilities. We're very aware playing pitch strategy, which is coming out in the new year, which is the Hastings and Rother playing pitch strategy, will show that there's a gap of around about 1 or 2 full-size 3G pitches short for the town. Sunday league football, Saturday league football on grass pitches is sort of slowly diminishing, but the increase in that weekday clubs playing 5-a-side, full-side, is a big increase in football in the town. So we desperately need some new 3G facilities. The council's looking very hard about how we bring them forward at the moment, and we hope to have some announcements in the new year about how we're bringing those facilities forward. But there's also the Football Foundation money out there. The Football Foundation are desperate to invest in Hastings in grassroots football. The play and pitch strategy is an important document that will allow us to access that money. And what
does the Football Foundation do, though? What does it do?
My understanding is that is sort of money downloaded from the sort of big clubs at the top and down into the Football Foundation to look at grassroots football, and they're very much focused on improving playing surfaces. That's their big focus. This is why we've been asking the officers to meet up with the directors to look at pilot fields, because if the Tolkien site is off the agenda, then is the pilot fields a possible place to redevelop and actually have football there sustainably for the future? The Football Foundation are looking desperately to invest money in grassroots football, but the money can only be downloaded through a council body. So we would like to work with the club, walk around the site, understand what the pressures are on the site, and can we look at how we can make the pilot fields more sustainable as a playing surface. Yeah, there are lots of options. Yeah, I've heard people talk about maybe putting a 3G pitch on the pilot fields. Yeah, sacrilege to most of us, but it would, like Eastbourne show, mean that you can then use it every single night for your training, for your academies process, for community use. It suddenly becomes a big business asset that pays for the future of the club, you know. So instead of that pitch sitting there beautifully preserved for the big boy and big girl matches, you know, you can use it every single day, generates income. All that money that's spent on renting out the Rye Rugby Club and various other 3G pitches around the town and outside the town, that money comes into the club. Right? Yeah. So I'm not saying it's the most romantic idea, putting a 3G pitch in the middle of it. And I spoke to Dave Nestling about this many years ago. But it is one option, you know. And of course, then we've got Horntie as well.
Yeah. Well, let's talk on Horntie now. As far as I was aware, when I was at that meeting a few weeks back, Horntie was off the table. So please, if it is it back on the table?
Well, it was really interesting, wasn't it? At that meeting, the directors were very clear. They said that the Horntie had been sold already. Well. I've had some conversation with Dave Nestling later. Dave Nestling, obviously, everybody knows him as one of the old directors of Hastings United, but now he's heavily involved in the Horntie Trust. He confirmed to me that they hadn't sold the Horntie ground. They have got a preferred buyer, but that's pending on planning permission being granted. So the window's open still there.
Okay.
You know, for the club to talk directly to the directors. As well, because and they're very good. They're very close to each other. Dave Nestling still does quite a bit of interesting work for the club, so there's a connection there between the two of them. There's an opportunity to have that real strong conversation. Yeah, the Hastings, the Horntie Trust are desperate for a sporting legacy as they move out of the Horntie site. You know, what would be a better legacy than Hastings United moving in? Lovely new stadium on there, clubhouse already built, 3G pitch on the hockey pitch, car parking facilities already there. It's a no-brainer, really. And from the point of view of a carbon footprint and for reduced costs to develop that site, it's got to be a winner, hasn't it? I mean, you're talking, maybe £700,000 to resurface the 3G pitch there, the hockey pitch into a 3G pitch. You've got the facilities there already in the clubhouse with a few bits of knocking through walls to make them various areas better. And as the director said at that meeting, you can buy seating, the needed 200 seating, for fairly cheap. It seemed to be, and then you've got the ground is encircled, which I believe is one of the statutory things you need for grading. It's actually, it's got fenced off. So, Horntie, to me, looks like the perfect fit for both the Horntie Trust to have a sporting legacy and the club, if they desperately need to move out of Pilot Fields, to find a new home. But, it's down to the directors to be flexible, to have a conversation with the Horntie Trust, and for, dare I say it, profit not to always be the biggest motive. Sustainability of the club staying in Hastings, the club growing is the most important thing for the town and for the council and for the supporters.
Okay. I mean, I want to ask you, obviously, we've had the announcement that the Hastings are going to go to Eastbourne Borough, and they've got an agreement, and they signed that off apparently 4 or 5 months ago. I mean, what's the council's view on it?
The council hasn't got really. My personal view is, as a Hastings United support and go to the matches, that you can't. If the directors decide to take the club Hastings United to Eastbourne, then it almost ceases to be Hastings United. It sort of becomes the Peter Sherlock and Darren United. The council can't stop them taking their brand, their shop front, and playing their first team matches somewhere else. But as we said at the meeting, are we really talking about putting minibuses on? Talking about losing massive amounts of attendance? Ripping the club that they've built beautifully in that area. Yeah, Billy Wood's done an incredible job to build that community, and the attendances are fantastic across the board. Are we really saying that, despite the face of the council work, we're going to move the club that we love from Hastings to Eastbourne? You know, as one of the people said at the meeting, it will be the death knell of the club as it stands at the moment if they move it to Eastbourne. So, yeah, I am openly calling the directors to not take that threat off the table. That's sit down, work with the officers to look at pilot fields as it is, or have those conversations with the Horntide Trust about staying in Hastings and developing a site that is not only sustainable, but also one that doesn't impact on green spaces that are out there at the moment. So, you know, there are some big decisions that the directors need to make in the next couple of months. Yeah, do they pursue going down this sort of attacking the council and being blind to a plan B or C, or can they sort of row back and actually put the club front and focus in their mind rather than their pride and their £200,000 that they spent riskily on a planning application?
Okay, well, thanks so much for that, Andy Batsford. Cheers, mate.
If your life is greedy, you'll be toasting my health. If an interesting culture should be lining the walls, when your birthright is interest, you could just accrue it all. Me and my cousins, and you and your cousins, it's the line that's always running. Me and my cousins, and you and your cousins, I can feel it coming. Feel it coming. Me and my cousins, and you and your cousins, it's a line that's always running. Me and my cousins, and you and your cousins, I can feel it coming.
Now we join the SBTS Fan Roundtable. Many thanks for Andy, Ben, Terry and Gabs for making it happen. Well, on this lively chatter that we're having, very welcome to episode...
Are you recording?
I am recording, but episode
thank
106... Yeah, exactly. Fan Roundtable. They just do it on their own now. No need for me anymore. The wonderful Terry from Margate, Gabs from Enfield, the man in the box in many ways, Andy Q, and the most photographed man to ever watch a Hastings game, Ben Bennett. Hello to all of you.
Hello, Chris.
Good evening, Chris.
Yeah, great.
Cheers, Chris.
A few people on the bit of time limit here, so I'm going to jump straight to Gabs because I want to ask him a couple of things. Gabs, what are we thinking about Enfield's excellent start? And then I'm going to start asking you about a little bit about the fan ownership thing. Talk about Enfield quick.
Yeah, it's been an incredible start, but at the same time, that's exactly what it is. It's a start. Played, six league games now? 5-6 league games. Still unbeaten, still second, breezed through the FA Cup, and we're looking really, really good. and we're playing. we're not playing anything like we did last year, which I know to a large section of the fan base and probably some opposition fans as well will come A as a great surprise and B as a very positive surprise. But no, it's we've hit a bit of a purple patch to start the season. Hopefully it lasts, but that remains to be seen.
Yeah. And who you got Saturday?
We have got Bognor Regis Town at home, and then we've been very lucky. We've been drawn to who's it we got at home? Wow, Felixstowe and Walton. So that's basically 3 home games on the bounce. So
we got beat by
hunkering down for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think we play Felixstowe.
We did. We got was that the FA Vase? It was either the Vase or the trophy. Yeah. One of those. It wasn't the FA Cup. It was the Vase or the trophy. They beat us at was it 2-1 maybe?
Yes. Yeah, so you need to win at least 5 or 6-0 there for us, please, Gabs.
We'll try. They do love a cup competition. We actually played them last year in the Velocity, I think. We went there. It's a lovely ground. They've done it up really nicely. And we won 2-1, but we made hard work of it. Like, we should have been about 4 up by half time. Yeah, decent side on their day.
Yeah, just quickly, because I know you got a little bit of time. You might be able to add a few things after we've all started talking. But I wanted to talk to you about. I just mentioned it to Andy about the fan ownership. Now, people talk about fan ownership, and I hear it and I think, oh, it sounds nice, but what is the actual reality of it at, say, Enfield?
Good question. I mean, the reality is it's basically ingrained in everything we do. In that it's sort of unusual for being, in our sense, quite usual to not have to worry about an owner or sort of who mucks in and does what, really. I mean, in its essence, you pay, 20 quid for your membership annually. And that's your slice of the club. That's your sort of ownership certificate. And you get all of the kind of democratic rights that come along with that. So, any kind of major decision the club votes on, whether it's to sort of install a 3G pitch or, we had one to upgrade our bar facilities, I think, the last AGM, and little things like that. You have your say, you have sort of access to meetings and things like that. But essentially, it just means that it's a club that is run sort of entirely by and for its the benefit of its members. That's not all of our match going fans. I think we got it up to about 350, 360 at the start of the season, which isn't too bad. It's about sort of 60% odd of what we usually get on a match day. But those, for those 350 odds, that's their, they can sort of say that they're owners of the club, basically.
So go on, sorry, Andy.
So it comes. I probably might ask the same as what you're thinking, given what we were talking about this, Gab, before you came on. And so 350 times 20 quid is obviously
£7,000.
What's that? 7. So given the value of given the overall value of one of those clubs, is there somebody who holds a controlling share who really puts some money in? Because we're just interested, because the value of a club would be more than, wouldn't it? So
yeah, absolutely.
How does that ownership model work in that context?
It's a very valid point, and it's another very valid question. And to be honest, I mean, obviously, we'd consider ourselves sort of far more valuable than that. But to answer the question in terms of who has a controlling stake, no one does really. Every member gets one share and one vote. I mean, when the old Enfield kind of went under, it was as a result of the chairman making promises he couldn't keep and then moving the grounds. And we when we were sort of formed, when we were established in 2001, we didn't. I say we, like I was there, but you were there in spirit. You were there in spirit. I was there in spirit. Yeah, as a little toddler. That was essentially the aim. I mean, our income is essentially, as it would be probably, I imagine sort of before kind of big ownership, which is kind of sponsors, obviously gate receipts, membership and individual donations. We don't really have sometimes to our detriment, sometimes to our benefit, but we don't have a backer, if you like. We don't have a sugar daddy. But in a way that's it's quite a nice thing. It means you have a very clear conscience whenever you're spending money around the club and whenever you kind of come through the turnstiles.
Yeah, it's just interesting, isn't it? Because if you went up to, suppose your season continued and you went up to National League South, and then your wage bill goes up, your travel bill goes up, and some local businessman says,
Absolutely.
right, I'll offer all of you £1,000 each for your 20 quid share or whatever. I'm just wondering, it's an interesting thing as to how that works once the club starts. Is it sustainable? Is it sort of can you grow it with that model? That's the quite interesting conundrum, isn't it?
Massively, and it's one we've had to ask ourselves a few times. But that ethos is very much, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a very romantic one. From a personal point of view, it's one that I really love, and I wouldn't want to change. But I know that very legitimately, we've had fans basically saying how long can it last? And if hypothetically we were to reach those levels, it would be something we'd have to consider. But just from my point of view, I really like the way it is. I
understand that. I guess you'd put the promotion in nice problem to have territory, I guess, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
for sure. But it's a problem. It's a problem we desperately want, though.
So sorry, I didn't want to put you on the spot. It was in my head. I was just wondering, because a lot of people talk about fan ownership, and I haven't got a clue.
Yeah, I didn't have any idea of how it worked. It's the sort of thing that we've talked about at our club. We've got a billionaire owner, and a lot of fans are frustrated because he's not putting the money in that they think he should. I mean, he's basically bought the club, bought the ground off the council, so we don't have to worry about the council being their usual selves. And it's one of those things. All the fans are going, "Oh, why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? The owner should be doing this. The owner should be doing that." And it's like that's sort of the supporters club do a lot of the things like we put money into it. But if we were to sort of expand that into like you say, a 20 quid a year, and be able to put into how the club's run, I think a lot of fans would be more into that, because they're not happy with the fact that our owner's a bit tight because he won't spend out. But then he's also keeping us solvent. It's like we're not living beyond our means. Yeah. So it's like it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other the way it is. But it's a really interesting. I didn't know anything about it, and the way you said through there, it's like, oh yeah, that's something that you could like put to the other club. Well, if you're that worried about how the club's being run, why don't you do this then?
I guess the fact that Enfield ceased to exist makes it easier to go straight from a sort of ground zero fan ownership model, rather than having to find the money. Because if you had to find the money to buy the club off your owner, who owns the ground as well, it's a different world, isn't it?
Exactly, and we were the first to do it as well. We set that template for Wimbledon and the rest. So
that's great. It's great. It's working for you.
Pioneers.
Absolutely. It's another reason why we can kind of ourselves as Enfield Town, we can kind of take a little bit of pride in that.
Yeah,
it's another kind of pro rather than the cons of if we were to come on.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about the other Enfield Town, do we? No,
there's only one Enfield Town.
But so Enfield. Yeah, so Terry was speaking there. Terry, he might dip into his pocket, because this could possibly be a promotion season. You started off strongly, a few
we had a bit
results.
Bad bank holiday weekend, but we're back on it now. So.
And you're on to Cup glory against Folkestone now, yeah? That should be a tasty game.
It didn't go so well last weekend, so we're hoping that we can just pick up, and it was just a bit of a hiccup. And hopefully we can keep the momentum going now, because the first half on Saturday wasn't particularly good, and we're all like, oh god, here we go again, like. And then second half, 3 goals in 7 minutes, it was like cardio workout.
Well, talking about that, tell everyone what happened to you. You actually stopped a game, didn't you?
Oh god,
go on.
Yeah. Well, I thought Steve Corley's shot was going to go in the goal, and it didn't. And it dinged me straight upside the head. And the ref stopped the game, and our physio had to come over and give me a little bit of treatment, because I was sitting on the floor watching the Tweety birds go around my head.
But
classic non-league injury.
Yeah,
you handed your beer.
Six minutes of added time, and 2 of them were mine.
Tell him about you handed your beer to the person next to you, and then went down.
The chap standing next to me was our media guy, and I was like, "Can you just take that for me? I'm going to sit down." And this handed over my beer and sat down on the floor.
Yeah, priorities.
You can't be wasting your drinking. No,
you can't. No, what a waste.
Presence of mind.
Well, talking of FA Cup, the one person on this panel that went to the game at Erith, Ben, you want to give us the lowdown on the draw at Erith?
Very hot, too hot probably. The game was kind of played. It wasn't fast and frantic. It was not how we've been playing. We've been playing with a lot of energy, and I think the conditions played a part in that. I think, but we had a lot of 2 or 3 really good chances. We've definitely been putting away recently. We had a good bit of possession. They had a couple of little breaks that Charlie Granger made a good save towards the end. Actually, about a few minutes from full time, it was could have ended up even worse. But yeah, it was probably. If we probably could have had 4 or 5 over there, we probably could have conceded a couple, but we should have got through it yesterday. But we'll have to do it again on Wednesday. But yeah, still a good little away trip.
Yeah,
it was obviously played at Welling because the ground share with them. So yeah, there wasn't a huge crowd there. There's quite a few from Hastings, probably more from Hastings than there was then. But yeah.
What about one of our old boys? Finn Amara was playing, and with a magnificent mane of hair now. And did he have a good game?
He did actually. Yeah, you can probably would have sensed that anyway. He was gonna turn up against us, wasn't he? But he done all right. Femi did have a 1-on-1, which he should have scored. He got through the back line in first half, which has been put away. But other than that, I think Finn had a decent game. Apart from his hair, it was decent.
Well, we've had a good start to the season. You know, I don't mind a draw away in a cup, bring them back home and win. Yeah, get an average performance out of the way. You know, I'm not.
I think it's a bit deflating yesterday because you go and then you think, we probably could have won that 4-5. We probably should have done in the end. But yeah, at least we're still in the hat. We probably could have, been on the other end of a poor result at the end there. But yeah, we've got to do it again on Wednesday now, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay.
But I can't see why we shouldn't. By what I saw of Erith, we should get a few past them on Wednesday night. I like to think. I think there wasn't enough to me that they're going to be a huge threat apart from the couple of chances they had. We'll probably step it up a little bit, but yeah. I can't see us not progressing. That's for sure.
We've got when we win, let's be confident. When we win, we got Dorking away, isn't it?
Dover.
Is it Dover?
Dover. Yeah, Dover.
It's got a D in it.
You can go and
Dover,
tear
that's
them
a
a new one
toughie.
for us. Sorry?
It's got a D in it. I got close enough.
Where did you get Dorking from? Seriously,
I don't know. I don't.
It's been all over the chat all day, Dover. The draw's been on.
I'm never on that chat. I'm never on that chat.
You are, because you spend most of the chat rowing with Nick.
No, I get abuse. Just quickly as a sidebar. The one, right, Ben, who's the one that gets all the abuse on the chat? It's me, isn't it?
Yeah, because you know why? Because you bite at every opportunity.
Nah, I don't. I'm not easily wound up.
Yeah, I think you've got a big competition with you and Dane. Actually, I think there's definitely up there with the biggest biters in the club.
Yeah, it is. They do.
Yeah.
That Nick, he's a champion. He's a true champion of.
Mate, anybody can wind you up, not just Nick.
Well,
anyway.
Yeah, and an honourable shout to Keith Wareham, always doing God's work on Twitter. Just thought I'd add that.
Man's relentless.
He's just sunshine on a rainy day.
I do have to say though that young lady who he replied to on Twitter today. Obviously, in the interest of research, I had a look at her Twitter thread, and it's interesting. I would describe her camera angles as consistent. She just seems to put out the same photo every other day.
Doesn't stop Keith Wareham. I mean,
maybe that's what her fans have. Maybe she decided that's the angle that does it. But they're just how we ended up involved.
He is a legend. He's a legend.
He's one of our own. He's one of our own. We haven't got many one of our owns anymore, but Keith Wareham is definitely one of our own. As a sidebar,
Gabs, my eyes.
Well, actually, Andy, I've not spoke. Look, how do you feel early doors? How's it going in the box? Obviously, you've been putting some great music out there, great eclectic mix, definitely. And I'm not taking a piss there. There's some good stuff you've been putting out. What's the reaction been like? And
Yeah, the feedback is still quite good. It's very interesting, actually. The feedback that we get is nearly always from people over the age of 40. There's there's quite an interesting divide in the levels of interest in music and that in the generations. That's one of the biggest factors. I'm constantly being collared. Lord Vernon Couchman collared me the other week at the ladies' game and insisted on giving me a load of tracks and that sort of thing. Obviously, yeah, it's interesting how obviously Pat McCrossan, all of the people of that generation, they're the ones who show the most interest in the music side of it. James Hopkins, who does a lot of the commercial stuff now, all those people, he's probably about the youngest person and he must be getting on for 40, who gives regular feedback on it. But it's interesting. That's one of the interesting things, actually, the generational divide and the levels of interest in music. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
but it's quite good fun. I mean, that Easter weekend, sorry, not the August Bank Holiday weekend was quite interesting with the just playing a bit of local music, and then just out of the blue, the Kid Capici thing cropped up on the Monday because they'd done their video at the ground, and I mean that was interesting. I mean, just interesting the fact that I had a copy of their single on my laptop 2 days before it was played on Radio One. So that just shows an interesting sort of bit of reach there, has to be said.
Has anyone heard of Kid Capici outside of?
Do you know, the only reason I have is because of this podcast. That's not
right.
That's not me wanting to buy you lot a fiver.
No, I'll get nothing from no one, mate. All I get is stick. One of the things I must add is I have put a song request in as Matt Longhurst, who's the manager of Irif now. He used to be manager of Ramsgate. I've always thought he looked like the lead singer of Brother Beyond. So I have put a request for The Harder I Try by Brother Beyond for Wednesday. I won't be there, though, to hear it. Or to hear the booze.
You won't be? Well, do you want me to knock it back to Saturday?
Well, he won't be there, will he? It's just because I have said to Matt that he looks like the lead singer of Brother Beyond. So,
but will he? Is it more important that he hears it or you hear it?
I don't know. He'd just probably ignore it, and he's probably forgotten who I am. So
I can always knock it back to Saturday just for your own listening pleasure.
Why not? I'll get more booze. Anyway.
Andy, I'd like to put in a request actually, because obviously we've got loads of songs, player songs, club songs, or anything like that. Maybe we like at the end of the game, if we get a good win and a certain player scored a goal, play the tune to that player and things like that. I think you did one game, didn't you?
Well, I did. I played Come On Feel the Noise on Saturday or Monday.
Yeah. That was good. Yeah, I remember that.
Game's going
Yeah, exactly. A popular beat combo from the 1970s, Slade.
Yeah, we get George to send you some of the songs so you know which ones that we sing, because you might, to be honest, that's not, you might not hear it. It might not be.
Yeah, it depends. I've played Just Can't Get Enough a couple of times as well at the end of the game. So things like that. So, yeah, absolutely. I'm always open to sensible suggestions. I mean, we sort of started getting a bit of a pattern now that I play records about 2:00 to 2:15 because there's hardly anyone there. I play records just for my own gratification, really.
Well, when we come down to you, anything from like 80s heavy rock, I'm down for that. Yeah, so
yeah, I do tend to. Then you get the sort of more modern top 40 dancey playlist between 2:15 and 2:45 during warm up time, and then I've tended to play the heavier stuff in the run to kick off. So I'm always game for that. We've had Iron Maiden.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
I did play Arcade Fire as well, Chris, last weekend. Yeah, and anything like that. Any 80s. I found a great sort of obscure bit of 80s hair metal that Vernon Couchman recommended to me. So anything of that sort of nature in the run up to kickoff, we tend to turn it up a bit.
Decent. Are You Being Served as well? We put Are You Being Served on?
We have played Are You Being Served theme tune as well, yes.
So did you play Status Quo last year?
I did play. I played Deeper and Down, I think.
Yeah,
Deeper and Down I played. And the Ramones, anything like that, all that sort of stuff is sort of bang on for the 15 minutes to kick off.
Yeah, so anyone listening, he puts a playlist out before every game, don't you?
I tend to.
Andy?
What I tend to do now is I put it out after the game on Spotify,
sorry.
purely because sometimes if you suddenly get someone who runs into the box and says we're doing this before kickoff or this or that before kick, then it gets hacked around. And also, what I do is I hack out all the regulars like Sussex by the Sea, and I just hack all those sort of things out and then publish the songs. So yeah, tend to on the day after, I always publish the playlist on Spotify.
Okay, yep. So, are you playing any music at Enfield yet? I'm sure you said you might try, Gab.
I did, and I haven't got anywhere yet. I think that I need to have a chat with Andy, who's on the PA system at Town, about expanding our repertoire. I think because it's somewhat bare at the moment. We don't even have discussions about it.
You need a little bit of a popular uprising there. Take the box.
There you go. That's the next item for discussion. That's the next item for discussion.
Yeah, get that on the agenda in the next meeting.
I've got actually quick thing for Gab. Actually, I don't know if he knows him, but he's one of the biggest Arsenal fans there is. John Williamson. He's from Enfield way. I don't know if you know him. He's a big Arsenal fan. He's probably I wouldn't like to say he's probably about 60s or something. But he's Enfield way. But he goes everywhere, like the women's game. I don't know if he goes to the women's. He goes all to the under 23s, under 18s. He goes to America. All like goes to every game. He's been on Sky Sports a couple of times for a couple of interviews, but he's Enfield way. But I think when Arsenal don't play, he does pop along. So John Williamson. He's legendary Arsenal. He's a legend at Arsenal.
Ben, does he do Arsenal Fan TV?
No, he wouldn't go near that, mate. No, only idiots go in there.
I love riling him up. I'll tell you what, they viscerally hate Arsenal Fan TV. Like, to me, that is pure entertainment.
Yeah,
look at him.
For every other club, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with Ben on that one. Can't stand it.
No, I do. Okay, it's only to wind him up.
It doesn't wind me up. I'm not like you.
No, of course you're not. Of course
you get wound up so easily. I'm not like you. I just let it go from my head.
The worst thing is that
Margate used to be the nursery club for Arsenal in the 20s.
Wow.
I'll have to dig out one of the programs, 20s and 30s. They used to say who was coming down, and how old they were and where they were staying and if they'd had an injury or anything. So basically, they used to come down to us, almost like a reserves. When you're getting players back into it after they've been injured or if they're coming up through the youth section, and they used to send them down to us in the 20s and 30s before they went back to the main club.
Oh, interesting.
I'll have to dig out the program that's got all the details on it.
Yeah, good. That'd be good.
Right, quickly, Terry. Yeah. When we've got you in October.
Tuesday night, anyway.
Tuesday the 24th.
Tuesday, but that is half term, so there is the potential of I might bring the kids down, might stay for a couple of days. So there's potential of doing something nice there. I'm sure there's lots to do in Margate in an October time, isn't there?
Yeah, there should be a couple of bits and pieces still open. If the weather's good, they tend to be, especially with it being half term. We might be all right. You never know what the weather's doing at the moment. So
try and drag a load of us because we're going Bognor. Actually, Gabs, we've got you November. Is it November?
18th.
December?
I just checked. November the 18th.
Yeah,
that's my birthday.
All right. So obviously the Hastings are going to win for Terry. But what at your ground or ours?
We host you lot in November and then we go to you lot in April 20th.
And that's a Saturday, isn't it?
That's a Saturday.
Oh, good. No,
Top of the table clash, that'll be in April, won't it?
Yeah, hopefully one of us will have gone up by then, and the other one will be sitting nicely in second.
Yeah. But
I'm fairly optimistic that it might be a top of the table clash by then, actually. It seems to have bedded in quite nicely. You can never be sure.
You're going, it's all right.
Yeah, can't argue with results, can you? I mean, unbeaten.
Yeah, the bank holiday weekend was good. Very, very, very positive.
But probably what's probably good in a way that we're not. It's never good to draw, but it's kind of like a little bit of don't get too carried away yesterday.
100%.
Like there is obviously issues there. Obviously we are going to get better. But yeah,
I got murdered in the chat when I said that. Where was everyone in my defence?
I'm not defending.
No, you're not defending me. I know you ain't. No one defends me. Go on.
I don't defend you. No, but sometimes it's quite good. It's just because it's a new team and everything else. You don't want to get too carried away. too quickly. So yeah, see what happens on Wednesday. See what the response is like.
If it's any solace, Chris, when we drew at Harringay on Bank Holiday Monday, we had the exact same reaction. Yeah. We were like, it's a it's just a reality check. It's nothing more, nothing less.
It's not really a reality check, but it's just like because it's a new team and it's been a really good buzz. But it's nice to have like a not a reality check, but something that
grounding
you can only build on.
Yeah, grounding.
I like that. Grounding sounds good.
And it gives everybody an opportunity for a home. At least it is a home FA Cup game, despite the unbelievable run of away ties that we seem to have had over the past few years. So it is a game at home. Hopefully get a good few people.
The weather's to be good anyway. It should be scorching.
It's going to be a beautiful evening. Right up there. Yeah, beautiful evening. So yeah, quite looking forward to that.
I'm hoping myself Freddie Legg gets some minutes because we've got a game Wednesday, Saturday. Please, yeah, I'd like to see.
He got a few more yesterday. Got a few more than he has done. He looks sharp enough.
Yeah, like Wareham, he's one of our own.
He is.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's quite good. We do have, I think, the Radari and Adam coming back has made for. It was almost like either it was a genius piece of recruitment or an unbelievably fortuitous occurrence, them coming back. Probably a combination of the two, I expect. Because that's given that sort of local angle. So if you see all the pictures of the kids with Radari over the weekend and that sort of thing is brilliant. And you can see the bonds that are being built. And also they've come back and they're playing very well as well. And that combined with the London players and that, it makes for quite a nice, exciting mix for people with that bit of local interest as well. And with Tom coming back from injury and Freddie and that.
JJ Walker.
JJ was superb in that game. He made that one mistake early on, and the best thing about it was it didn't phase him at all. He just carried on and got better throughout the game, and that was really nice. So it's it's proved to be a really good mix. Hope it continues.
But yeah, that's the thing with Hastings. We've always had the core of local players, haven't we? And we was kind of a bit worried at one point there where we was going to be left with maybe one with Freddie, and almost that was it. But it's quite nice that 2 or 3 have been added along with JJ as well. And I thought, Adam Lovett was probably my man of the match yesterday. I thought he was really, really good. And it was, of course, he did
every game.
He didn't have a pre-season, did he? So he's growing every game. Yeah,
he's a bit ropey, bit rough that first friendly when he played a half, and then you could almost just see the increase in his speed.
Game by game, sharper and sharper.
Yeah, it's really good, really good. And watching Radari, when Akoi was going forward at the weekend, it was really interesting seeing David fitting in behind him. When he went forward, we could see from where we were that David was slipping back in to cover for him when he went forward, which was just like watching a different player. Just so much more mature. So much more mature. And it was brilliant. That was a really quite, because we were watching, because we've got that such a good view up there, just saying, hang on, he's tucking in when the right back goes forward. And that just, you thought, wow, that just shows that he's really moved on as a player. There's something as simple as that, let alone the goals.
It's all about
finishing things now as well.
Right then.
Yeah, it's all good.
All good. Well, it's all good with everyone. Margate, Enfield on their cup run. We're obviously, we're winning. So we will see you in the next round, hopefully.
It's quite nice. We've actually got a fairly cheerful quorum, haven't we, at the moment? Be interested to see how
we've not even talked about the new ownership. We could do that another time. The White. Do you want to quickly mention something about the Whites, Ben?
Can do for a minute. Yeah. Well, the timing of it was brilliant, wasn't it? Because it was just before Dulwich Hamlet. The three of us, me, you, and Matt, wasn't even probably going. And then,
we were a bit.
The announcement at 2:00 on the Friday was like, "Wow, how tempted are we?" And we got on the train and went up. But it was just that extra buzz, wasn't it? It was the change that was needed, just to freshen up, wasn't it? It was all a bit stale, and there was a lot of toxic about a little bit last season, but it's brought a lot of people together. It's brought the fan base a lot closer, I think.
Yeah,
and if they can't be any more Hastings through and through than the Whites, really, can you? Dean obviously manager, and Ben was a player when I was playing years ago, and I know them very well. And the club is at heart, and it's great. It's really, really good news, and hopefully the council will work with them. Yeah. I'm sure they will.
Yeah, I mean, I've already bumped into Ben knocking around downstairs, and just silly little things like he's just already got himself involved with the organisation on match day and got a grip of things like team sheets and things like that, which had really, it sounds really trivial, but when you're doing the announcing on a match day, you know, just getting hold of the teams and things like that, you just don't need that stress. And you can just see those little bits of admin being put in place, just getting everything a little bit tighter, and just a really positive influence out the back, and silly little things like that. You take care of the boring stuff like that, and then the good stuff can follow from there. And that's a really good way. You know, you get all that stuff nailed down, and then all the players have to worry about, all anyone else have to worry about is playing, and just take all that stress away from everybody. And yeah, even something as trivial as the team sheet immediately being available now that lot have got a hold of it is a small example, but a really good example of just their positive influence.
But it's all about talking. It's all about communication. It's all about their connection with it, because they know everybody as well, which makes it a lot easier. Whether someone like me that's known them for so many years, but a lot of people know them. Like I say, they're Hastings through and through. Even the things like you could actually they'll talk to you, and I've already spoken to them, and they're all want the fans' ideas. If they've got any ideas, to email them even directly and things like that. That we wouldn't have had that with the other owners. We didn't have that connection with them. What we're gonna have now, and it's a huge thing.
100%
positive.
Yeah, I was down there a few days ago. They printed off a load of fixture posters to put around the town, which is something that obviously we haven't really been doing. So I was having a chat with Ben, and he's lovely, you know, and he wasn't abusive like everyone else is to me. He was really nice to me. So I love him.
That'll change.
That'll change, obviously. If he hears this, yeah, I'm getting it. But
what did you do?
Huh?
Did you slip him a fiver in his pocket?
Thought you was going to say something else then.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no.
Exactly, Terry. Exactly.
Anyway, we've got the Orr grocer on board for a fixtures poster, Chris. So we're going to drop him in at our local grocer. So I said to James, I said, you know, why don't you ask for people to see if they can take a couple of posters and get one of their local shops or something like that to display it, and just a few people dishing out those posters will add up to quite a few posters if they can just get their local shop to display it or something. So
yeah, no, I was down the old town.
Need to expand that a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's exactly.
Chris, did you actually say that you'll only deliver the posters and put the posters up if you get your green arm in?
Yeah, it is. But right, just quickly,
is that sneaked in the bottom of there? So.
Every time his big head gets in the way, Ben, and I get pushed aside, and you're just every picture you just see a bit of an arm of me where I've been pushed aside because Scott White is involved with a conspiracy with Ben about this, but I'm not one for conspiracies though.
Good job anyway, Chris. I'll say it's a good job you put them posters up. You've taken one for the team.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, love you all. Terry from Margate, Gabs from Enfield, Andy, Ben, thanks very much for your time, and I will see you at the game.
See you Saturday.
There, guys.
Well,
that's it for another episode, SBTS fans. If you want to get in contact with this podcast, the email is hufcpod@gmail.com. The Twitter, which is SBTSpod. Otherwise, go to the YouTube. Over 3.5 years of content on there. There's so many other ways to listen. However you get your podcasts, we're on all platforms. Or go to the link tree, which is SBTS Podcast, and subscribe. It's all free. Remember, get yourselves to a game and support local football, whoever and wherever you're watching. And apart from that, see you at the game.